Namaskar. Hello everyone. Firstly, I would like to thank you all for appreciating my last two episodes on mental health. Oh, today we will talk in a more specific manner about mental health, and the first and the foremost topic. I don't know how long I'll be taking this series, but probably two episodes, one on depression and another on anxiety or panic attacks. That's a must. So today in this third episode I am going to discuss about depression. Depression is a very common term, but at the same time it is a very widely misinterpreted or misunderstood term. So medically speaking, if I have to define depression, it is a mood disorder that causes a persistent feeling of sadness and loss of interest. Also, if it persists for a longer time, it's called a major depressive disorder or a clinical depression, as it affects the feeling, the thinking, the behavior, and it can lead to various emotional, physical, and social problems. You may have trouble doing normal day-to-day activities, and sometimes you may feel as if it isn't worth living. That's the clinically the most highest form of depression, or the most dangerous forms of depression. But we are not going to talk about those things here today, because you see, depression, panic attacks, and anxiety are not signs of being weak. They are signs that a person has been too strong for too long. Let us discuss about the general aspects of depression, because depression in general does not lead to very high emotional, physical, social problems, or ultimately leading someone to end his or her life. But depression is there. Depression is there in every person, in every phase of life. For some it can be long, for others it is for a short period, but it is there. So we need to understand about how do we know that a person is depressed or not. There was a saying, depression is being colorblind and constantly told how colorful the world is, which means that firstly, the subject or the person concerned should be aware that he is in some kind of a depression. And this is something that is very important, because normally what happens, we don't realize that we are having some kind of a depression. Like, if I have to share some real life stories, I'll share from one from my own. You may think that as a doctor I may be a very practical person, I may not be having any kind of depression, belonging to a well-to-do family, a very supporting family, and a very encouraging, friendly environment all around, with people all around. You think that you are not depressed. But I will talk about one such kind of a depression which came to me in the year 2016. In the year 2016, in the month of July, I lost my maternal grandfather. Then in the month of October, I lost my paternal grandmother. These two were very close personalities of my life. I mean, more than anyone, I know how close and how badly I miss them even today. But then everyone had to die someday. They died. I was away. I was in Bhubaneswar. I was not in Bhubaneswar. I was in Delhi that time, all by myself. Of course, with few of my own college friends. And that time played such a game that even those close friends with whom we had spent some 6 years in medical college, we lived together, we studied together, we bunked and we enjoyed together. And I went to Delhi trusting them that my friends are there, but all of a sudden they also started parting from me. It happened so that by November I was all isolated in that room with my 4 flatmates. We were all in our separate rooms. Nobody has time for the other. I was feeling very lonely, very isolated. And then all of a sudden things took such a drastic turn that I had to leave them. But the man's ego does not let you go back to your family when you have shown them that I have grown up, I can live alone, and all those things. It was a tough time. I could not have gone to my relatives' house. Of course, the doors were open, but it was against my ego to go to them and speak to them about this depressive phase. So I literally went round the unknown city of Delhi at that point of time, searching for a roof to take shelter. And when I finally got shelter, I moved out. The period, 2 to 3 days period, the 2 to 3 months period was very depressive for me. Everything, nightmares, backlashes, all these things were happening. Because I am a doctor, I knew that I am going through a phase of depression. And that time, because I was preparing for post-graduation, the memories were fresh about our clinical knowledge. So what did I do? I was left all alone. I was living all alone. And what I did was, I started writing. I started singing. I started speaking to myself. I started speaking to random people, venting my emotions, venting my feeling of loneliness. And then slowly time passed by, and 3 years in Delhi became one of the most memorable phase of my life. Going on to work in Max Hospital with some excellent friends who were like Sanjeevani to me. So what I want to project here about depression is, you keep a lot to yourself because it's difficult to find people who understand. And when you think that people won't understand you, you get into a shell, a protective shell, a shell of introvertness. In this shell, it's very difficult to survive. You may be breathing, you may be eating, you may be laughing, you may be talking like any normal person, but within you are not enjoying all those things. This is the phase of depression. In depression, some people eat a lot, some people sleep a lot, some people do a lot of gym, do a lot of workout, talk a lot, or like some they just go silent. Therefore, depression can come in any way. What is important is you need to realize that yes, I am having this depression. You need to realize that yes, I am having this problem, I need to vent it out. Mental pain is less dramatic than physical pain, but it is more common and also more hard to bear. Please understand this. Mental pain is less dramatic and less painful than physical pain, but it is more common and more hard to bear. The frequent attempt to conceal the mental pain increases the burden. It is easier to say, my tooth is aching, but it is difficult to say, my heart is broken. Think about it. This is a very important aspect of depression. What I want to focus is, we have medicines to treat depression, but those medicines will work only when the person concerned realizes that he is actually depressed. He is actually, I would not say depressed, he is actually beyond normal thinking. His mental health is not normal. You need to realize that. You need to accept that before yourself. That will be the first step towards treatment of depression. As I said, depression is being colorblind. It's a scene, according to me, it's a scene to consistently tell that I'm okay when you know you are not okay. It's okay if you admit it before someone that I am not stable. It's okay if you tell someone that I am not happy with what is happening in my environment, I'm not happy with how the current situation is in my family or anything. So in depression, what is most important, that is to speak out, to admit that yes, I am depressive, I am in depression. And when you admit that I am in depression, then the next step is you speak. As I said in the last episode, listening and speaking are the two most vital weapons in fighting conditions like depression or any other mental health. So at the end, I would like to share a small story from a very renowned psychological book. So to say, it is one of the best sellers of psychiatry. If you would have heard about it, then I mean, my medical friends would have definitely heard about it. For others, let me tell you, Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor E. Frankl. This is the book that I am referring to, this book. So in this book, there is one story where the author shares about a person who survived the mass killing by the Nazis. So when you survived the mass killing by the Nazis, you are considered as one of the most luckiest persons of the world. In the middle of the night, this author got an information about a lady, one such lady, who was planning to commit suicide. So this author, who is a psychiatrist, he called up to that lady, talked with him, was giving her ear to all the things that the lady was telling, and ultimately he was able to convince her not to commit suicide. Later on, when Dr. Franklin met this lady whom he persuaded to live on, he asked her, What then influenced her to go on living? He pressed. Her answer was simple. It was Frankel's willingness to listen to her in the middle of the night. A world in which there was someone ready to listen to her problem, her pain, seemed to her as a world worth living for. Therefore, it is often not a brilliant argument to make differences. Sometimes a small act of listening can be the greatest gift you can give to a depressive patient. There are treatments which we need not discuss here, but one thing, and the last thing that I would like to discuss about depression. Depression is a topic that can go on and on, but my basic motive of discussing this topic is to speak in a layman's term. Now, when I speak in a layman's term, I need to speak it in a layman's way, in a simple way. I'm not talking about the antipsychotic, antidepressive medicines that you can take, but what I am naturally talking is these minor behavioral changes that you can make to cure depression. And most importantly, it is you who need to accept at the first place that you are having depression. And when you accept that you have depression, it is important to look around for a person to whom you can share it. If you don't find someone, like I said last time, look into the mirror, talk to yourself, take a paper, scribble whatever you are feeling and see the effect. Therefore, friends, depression is again not a taboo. It is a natural behavior of human being that can come at any point of time, because you are the only person God has gifted with the quality of emotion. Emotion है तो डिप्रेशन होगा. अगर डिप्रेशन होगा तो उसका सल्यूशन भी होगा. Please think over it, and next time if you feel depressed, just try speaking to yourself. Thank you.